Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves as explorers who are in big trouble. The Temple of the Sun turned out to be a dangerous place, and to get out in one piece, you'll need to unlock the ancient enigma. The Lost Code is a deduction game for 2 to 4 players, takes 60 minutes to play, is for ages 10 and up, and published by Mojito Studios. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are prototype. They're not final, so you're going to want to check the Kickstarter link in the description of this video to see all the final art and components. Here I have a game set up, and this is us. Everybody has numbers between 0 and 7 of 6 different sort of suits or colors in front of them. For example, we have, the blue, the yellow, purple, the green, the pink, and the red, and we have a 652705. This player is trying to figure out these numbers of these colors. Every player is trying to do that for themselves, and we are too, because when you set this up, you never get to look at your own numbers, and the whole object of the game is to figure out what numbers are in front of you by deducing it, by asking questions, and trying to facilitate this that I'll show you in just a moment. Now, to note that here, even though there's 4 players here, the setup is the same regardless of the amount of players, and this is a very unique thing in this because most deduction games don't work well with 2 players. If you were playing with just 2 players, let's say it was this player and this player, these here would still get set up, so you'd still have the same amount of information out there. And so you could play this game with 2 players and it scales very well at all player counts. But here we have a 4-player game set up. Now, in real life, you'd be able to sort of turn your head and look and see these numbers a little easier than you can see it on this camera angle. So I'm actually going to bring everything a little tighter and angle them so it's a little easier to see on the camera to facilitate easier teaching. So again, regardless of the player count, you'll always get to see 3 sets of these numbers at the beginning of the game. And there's only one of each number. Remember, there's 0 through 7 in each of the colors, which means if you see a pink here that's 0, you know that you cannot have that 0 pink. So at the beginning of the game, everyone has a sheet behind their shield that's, no one else can see it. You're keeping notes and such. And so that 0 pink, I have blocked off. In this case, I'm using pencil because in this game, you might end up erasing quite a bit. But once you're an expert, you could probably use some pen here. So I've basically colored in all of the numbers that I can see. These are absolutely, there's no way I could have these there because I did not deduce these. I actually saw them. So I blacked these out with the pencil to say, hey, I know that I can't have any of these numbers. So we know, like for example, for red, I have to have either a 2 or 3 or a 6 or a 7. Now at the beginning of the game, one number of each color before they're placed on here is secretly removed from the game. So you'll never have perfect knowledge and you're trying to figure out which one is in front of you for each of the colors. Now here's the board for the game. Mainly it's a scoreboard and a place to hold the wheels. We'll talk how these work later, but it has a really cool sort of slithering score track there. And turn order is really important in this game because whoever's in last place is actually going to get a little bit more benefit than the one that's in first place at that time and all the way through that turn order. If everyone's anyone's stacked, the one that's on top is considered in last place, and they're going to be able to, if you're in last place, you're going to be the one that roll the dice for the round. So they'll take the 3 dice and they'll roll them, and they're going to be the symbols / colors of the game, the different tiles that are in the game. Now these show up a little bit better in person than they do on camera, but these are still prototype dice. They're not quite finalized, and they'll look even better in the final product. But here we see 1 of the pinks and 2 of the yellows. Now when the person rolls this, they can decide if they want to change any one die to anything they want. So they could take any one of these and change it to anything they want if they want, or they can just go with this roll. So let's say they chose to change that yellow to another pink. So 2 pinks and 1 yellow for this round, and this is the same for everybody. So everyone on round 1, which is the first line, they're going to put 1 X because there's 1 yellow and 2 X's in the pink because this is going to help you deduce things later on, and you're tracking what were the dice for that round. In this case, 2 pinks and 1 yellow. So now everyone is going to, in turn order from last place to first place, is going to select a wheel, and they're going to be selecting a number range that they think 1 yellow plus, in this case, 2 pinks is going to add up to. You're trying to get the exact number, but you won't be able to do that right away usually. You're going to try to narrow it down over the course of the game, and we could see which numbers are possibilities for me. So any one of these yellows plus 2 of the pinks. Now remember, the pink is just 1 tile, so it's going to be the same number twice. So I'm trying to figure out what same number twice plus what one number of the yellow that's possible, what ranges do I want to try to, guess to try to get an answer and sort of cut these in half if I can. So starting with the player in last place and then going all the way up to first place, they're gonna get to draft any one of these wheels. Now, these are really interesting because the big numbers are basically the amount of points you'll get if you have a correct answer, meaning this is in the number range that is actually in front of you that you can't see those numbers, but you're trying to guess. So for example, this one's worth 1 point, but it has 10 numbers of a range. So it's easier to get into that range, but it's only worth 1 point. Conversely, this one here only has 3 numbers in a range. So you gotta be really good. If you get it right, you'll get 4 points. And one that's 5, you only get 1 number in a range, but if you get it right, you'll get 5 points. So you're trying to sort of figure out, do you want to, the more sure thing and get some points, or maybe something bigger because you have a better idea of where things are. And that's turn order is really important because drafting these, for example, like this one is 2 points and this one is 2 points, but this one has a wider range. And now most of the time, a lot of times the wider range is better for you, but sometimes because of what numbers you know are not there and where they are, which ones they are, sometimes having a smaller range might actually help you more. And so you have lots of choices, but the first player is going to sort of draft those. So let's say we just, we draft this one, and then in turn order from last place to first place, everyone is gonna draft these. Now going in that turn order from last place to first place, each player is gonna take the wheel that they drafted and they're gonna put a range. Now remember, for us, it's 2 pinks and a yellow. So let's just say I did something pretty easy here. I took my lowest value that's possible here, and then there's 2 of them. So let's say 4, and 1 yellow, 1. So I know that the lowest possible number I can have is 5. So maybe I set this range from 5 all the way to 14. Now, and once I do that, everyone, or one player, but they can, they can sort of do it together, will tell me if 2 pinks, or the pink twice, for example, and the yellow, does that add up to this range? They're just gonna give me a yes or a no answer right now. Now, if the answer was yes, then we know that that range is exactly this, 5 to 14. So we would put this here, because later on we're gonna know that, okay, 2 of the pinks that I have now and 1 yellow equals this. And so now you know what possibility combinations those would be. Now, if that was the answer, we could already deduce some things. Now we know from the lowest example, we have 2 2s, which is 4, and this one's 5, and we know it's in that range. So we know that the 2 pink and 1 yellow is okay. We can't deduce that our lowest numbers are gone. But on the highest numbers, if the pink was 7, that would be 14. And if the lowest number here was 1, we know that would be 15, and we know it's between 7 and 14. So in this case, we could say, you know what, we know it's not a pink 7. And in this case, you would just actually cross it out. Now you notice that these ones are blacked out because we've seen them, but anything you deduce, you would essentially cross out. You would put an X in there like that because that's a deduction thing for you. That could change if you make a mistake later and things like that. Now the way it works is each player from last turn order to first is going to make their guess, and then last turn to that same turn order, everyone's going to find out if it's correct or not. But in this case, let's say everyone's made their guesses, and now I'm learning that this was correct, for example, like we were just talking about. And here we have the 1. Now this means if I was correct, I would have gotten 1 point, and I would go like this, and then we would continue that, finding out if the other players were correct as well, and they'd be putting their discs back here for next round too. Now, if I were wrong, I would, A, not get the points from that, but B, they would tell me whether it was higher or lower than the range. Now, in this case, they say higher. So we knew it had to have been more than 14. So now I've written in here, this is between 15 and 21. Now that's because 2 pinks of 7 is 14 and 7 more is 21. But if my yellow 7 was crossed off, I would have known this is actually 15 to 20, for example. And so that's how you're sort of creating deductions as things go on. Now, every player is going to sort of find out if they're right or wrong. Then in last turn to first turn order, players are going to have to lose a stone that was in front of them and replace it with a new one. Now you get to choose which stone to remove, and this has a lot of strategy too, because anytime you get a new stone, any deductions that you may have made with, if you put X's, they have to be rechecked, and you might have to lose some information that you figured out is, oh, no, not right. So you might want to do that, but you might also want to say, you know what, I don't want to risk anything. I don't know anything about red. Maybe I'll get rid of a red one, and that way I don't have to worry about redoing any deductions there. And so let's say you get rid of a red. So I would take this and flip it face up. Now I know that my 6, and I've crossed this out, it might be a little hard to tell because of my pencil, but this 6 is now, it's completely blacked out. So because I've seen it, but everyone else already knew this. So you've gained some information. But you're gonna have to take one from the stack and place it onto your board again without looking at it. So now all the other players are gonna get some new information as well. So other players are gonna get it. So no matter what happens, when a no happens, for each no, all players are gonna be learning information, whether it was you that it was no for you or the other players, and that's an interesting part of the game. And sometimes a very strong no answer is better than a yes answer, even if you're forfeiting some points, because you can learn things faster. Because at the end of the game, even though you're getting points sometimes by getting correct questions now, the big points can come at the end of the game for having more surety. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Another interesting part is as the game goes on and players are getting no answers, these piles might run out. And if there's not one of a specific color and you want to get rid of it because you got a no answer, you can't. You have to choose one of the ones that's here. And towards the end of the game, this might be very punishing because you might have to get rid of a tile and get one of one that you've already figured out. And that could be really tough. Now, one last twist on the scoring is if you choose this one that's the most points, but it's a single one, if you get it wrong, they just say no. They don't tell you whether it's higher or lower. So there's some penalties for going all in on the biggest point ones. So at the end of a round, it might look something like this, and then you pretty much just start over. In this case, reds and last, they'd roll the dice, and so on and so forth. Now you'd continue this all the way down until, for each round, until a certain amount of rounds, depending on whether you're playing 4, 3, or 2 players. Once you finish the last round, you'd have all deductions made and things like that. Then you'd go to your final guesses. Now I'm showing you this is what the front of the player shields look like, and this is the player color that you are. Those look really cool and nice too. So let's look at the final guesses. Everyone's gonna make a guess. You can make 1, 2, or 3 guesses for each color of what number you think is in front of you at the time at the end of the game. Remembering that those numbers can possibly change throughout the game. When you get incorrect answers, as I showed you earlier. But here, let's say here, we guessed 3 times, a 0 or 1 or a 5 for blue. If we're right, we're only gonna get 1 point because we had 3 guesses. Yellow, let's say I said 6 or 7. If we're right, well, then we'd only get 2 points because we made 2 guesses. Purple, if we're right, we only made 1 guess, we were sure, or we're gambling, we get 5 points. So the less guesses you get, the more sure you are if you get those right, the more points you get. But you'll get minus 2 points for each wrong. Let's say we thought green was 5 or 4, but it was neither, we'd get minus 2 points. So you do that for all the colors, and as you do that, you're gonna be moving up the score track, and this happens from last place to first place as well. And at the end of the game, whoever's the furthest wins, and if it's tied, the one at the bottom of the stack wins. And that's because they got there first, which means they were actually in a lesser place scoring-wise at the beginning of the final round. So you can come back and win this game. Now also, there is an easier way to play the game, and I actually highly recommend you playing this. In fact, I've played this game a lot, and I still only play on the easy level, and it's hard enough. And that you only play with 5 of the 6 colors. In the rules, it says you basically don't use red, and if you roll the red, automatically you can change that to any color you want, in addition to also changing any of the other single dice to a color you want as the normal rules. And so that gives you, it's a little easier. Actually, it's a lot easier, but it's still very difficult. So I highly recommend playing with just 5 colors until you're an absolute expert to add in the last color. Well, there you have the lost code, and as I showed in the overview, this is a pure logic and deduction game that's easy to learn how to play, but has mind-bending depth. Now, if you'd like to see the final art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me right in the description of this video. Now, that's gonna take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure the fine folks at Mojito Studios would love your support.